Hello. Hello, hello. Brows. That is what we're talking about today. We're talking about brows. Let me take this filter off and then we're going to get into it. Let me see what I can do. Okay. Whoa. All right. Back up a little bit, right? Okay. So one of the number one things that I always get asked about is how I get my brows the way that they are. So I'll take that, right? Got some pretty good brows. So I just want to walk you guys through kind of the process of how I get my brows. So as you can see, my brows look a little untamed, but they're not like super crazy. So this is because I do my brows myself, okay? I do my brows with these little guys here. I pluck them, I don't get them waxed, I don't let anybody else touch my brows because I don't trust anybody to touch my brows. So with that being said, this is what we're gonna do. I have a little bit of eye primer here. Well, I just put it on my finger. So what we're gonna do today is we're gonna use the brow palette, which is something that I use very, very often for my brows. We're gonna put some eye primer on them bad boys, okay? Eye primer. Like the eye primer that you put on your lids. I just put it on my brows. Bear with me, okay? Now, probably the number one most important thing that I use, because it doesn't matter what product I use, what type of product, if it involves a brush, this is the brush that I use, the Brow Artist brush. It has this flat end right here that you can see, and you'll see what I use that for a little bit later towards the end of the video. And then it has this one right here, which is a very precise, has a point. That's what I use to kind of mimic those hair-like brush strokes, okay? So today we're gonna be using our brow palette. This one is in brunette, it's the medium one. And as you can see, this baby has been through a lot with me, okay? We have two different shades here. We have a darker and a lighter brown. We have, this is more like a highlight. This I kind of use to shape my brows once I've applied the color. And then this is the wax, which apparently I really like to use. You know, I like my brows to stay put once I get them done. So what I like to start with is I like to start with a damp brush. So call me crazy, Elizabeth, just watch. I'm gonna show you how to do some brows, okay? So I like to dampen my brush, and how I do that, you can do it whatever way you want to. I just lick my brush. That's all I do, I lick my brush, okay? So then I start with the darker shade in the palette. And again, like I have also used cream shadows, kind of because I have like this grayish kind of brown hair right now. I mix my own custom colors with Faithful and Unfazed because that's just what suits me. There's a ton of different dark tones and nude tones that you can kind of mix and play around with if you don't just want to use this simple little compact, you know, brow palette. So now that I have licked my brush, I'm gonna go in there with my darker shade and just tapping a little bit. You don't need a whole lot of product, and you definitely don't want anything loose. And what I do is I start right here at the top of my brow. You can see how this is a little bit more sparse. I'm gonna straighten this out and kind of connect it right here where you can see that natural hair growth for my arch, okay? You can do the trick if you don't have brows that are grown out like this. What you can do is you can use your brush and kind of see where they should start, where the arch should be, and where they should finish, okay? And if you want a little bit more in-depth video like that, then just let me know and I can do that as well. But so what I do is I basically start right there where it kind of does that little dip. Let me see, maybe I should do this in the mirror instead of in the phone. So I would just take it, and then I'm turning the brush, not so much turning my hand, kind of moving my head and turning the brush as I get to that arch there, and I want it to fall down more. So again, turning my head more than I'm turning the brush itself, because that's when you kind of get like a wobbly line. My arm, my elbow is planted right on my desk, so that isn't going anywhere other than my fingers turning when I get there to that arch. You see that? If I filled that in right now, that would be like the perfect arch, okay? Super simple. That's like the main step, is just getting that top portion of your eyebrow where you want it to be. If you want a super high arch, which I've done before, kind of makes you look like you're walking around with your eyes open, so be careful. Especially if you don't have a natural arch as it is, adding an arch where there isn't one might look a little funky if you go too extreme. Okay, so that is the basis of the top. Now let's do a little bit of fill in. I'm gonna go back in. I'm gonna go back in with that darker shade, and I'm going to go back to that line and just kind of bring down that color and kind of fill in that area. Okay, you guys can say hi as you hop on. It's always nice when you say hi, because then it's not like I'm just talking to myself sitting in the basement. Hey Donna, hey Jen, hey Maggie. Okay, so again, in with that darker shade. Now the darker shade, I don't like to do it up front. We're gonna get there, but I don't like to do it up front because then it kind of looks like Sharpie brows, like you just took a Sharpie and threw them in. You want a little bit more dimension. That's why we have the two colors in the palette there, because it gives it just that little extra, okay? So then I'm just using small strokes again with that darker shade, kind of filling in those areas and bringing it down so that I can get that point where I want it to be. And again, just lightly tapping with the color. You don't want a crazy amount. You don't need a whole lot of product. You know, you want your brows to look more natural, like they are actually, hey Laura, like they've actually grown on your face, okay? So far that's all I've done. I've done that top line and kind of just filled in that lighter, more sparse area. Hey Maggie. Okay, so that was the first part. Super easy, anybody can do that. And it's okay if you go a little out of control and you go a little bit too high. There is a way to fix that without erasing the whole thing and going back, okay? So again, I'm gonna go back in with that darker shade, very lightly, blow off any excess. And now we're gonna do the same thing that we did up here, except we're gonna do it down here. You see where I've got a little bit of these sparser areas, it's kind of jagged. We're gonna fill that in. Yes, this is the only way that I've come up with to do my brows. I don't know how I did them before, but this is the only way that I can remember ever doing them. Okay, so again, we have that lighter shade, and we're going to go in underneath here, and we're gonna follow those natural lashes, and we're just going to lightly kind of make a little line, like a little template for ourselves. Okay, very light, nothing super duper crazy. Unless you like crazy, I support crazy. If you love it, then I love it. And then I took the lighter shade now, okay? The lighter shade, kind of just dabbed into it. And I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna take it from this line and I'm just gonna kind of flick all that color up. Okay. Just kind of fill in some of that area that we drew above that line. And just kind of flick that color up. Again, the reason why I'm using the lighter shade is because I don't want it to be super dark. I want the front of my brows to be a little bit more light so that they transition into that darkness. It complements the shape of your face and makes it so that it doesn't look so rough and so unnatural. Okay, so we're gonna keep doing that. And I don't like to do a whole lot right here because I have like this natural, if I just did a straight line, it would look very boxy. So I like to just kind of mimic those little lashes that I already have in the front where they're at, so that the top does look, or the front of my brow does look more natural. Do you see that? That's one done brow and that's a not done brow, but super, super easy, right? So then what I would do is I would take that wax with that flat side of the brush and just very gently just kind of brush the wax into the brow just to kind of set it where I want those hairs to go. Don't want them sticking up too much. So on the top there, I kind of just brush them to the side, flatten them out. See? Now, again, with that side of the brush, that is where I do my concealing when my brows get a little crazy, okay? When they get cray cray, that's what I use. So you take this flat side of the brush and you can do it with the pink, or a lot of the times what I like to do is take my concealer and I'll put a little bit on the back of my hand, warm it up. Hey, Ann. And I will just take, let me see, where did I put that pink? And I'll just take it and I'll line where I want it to go. And it's just kind of like the cleanup crew, okay? It's just to give you a little bit more precise lines. Again, especially if you do like the arch and say it gets a little out of control, you just take that brush there and you kind of go like that and bring it down, and you can just clean up whatever you want. Instead of erasing the whole brow and starting over, just clean it up. And then I usually take like a little bit of pressed powder and this part of my concealer, what is this, the powder concealer brush, and I'll just kind of dab around it. You can use a blending brush, blending bud, whatever you want. Just kind of dab just to kind of blend that color in. But that is super easy. You grab your highlighter. A lot of times I like to use the same side of that brush, and you go right underneath your brow to kind of highlight that. Maybe a little bit on top there. And boom, you have a finished brow. Wasn't that hard? Not at all. Looks pretty good. You have brows again. Hey, Sina. Aw, thank you. I love my brows. Probably my favorite thing to do out of all of my makeup is my brows. Okay, so for those of you that are hopping on now, I'm gonna do the other one. Now, one of the things about doing your brows is that they're probably not going to come out exactly the same. And that's okay. That's okay. They are sisters, not twins. As long as they're somewhere in the same ballpark, in the same family, you'll be okay. So again, we'll start with that, the pointed side of that brush there. I like to lick it. You don't have to. Go with that darker shade. And I'm planting my elbow again. And I'm going to go where kind of that dip starts. And I'm going to fill that in and go up to that natural peak. What's up, Danielle? Hey. Okay, so that's what we're going to do. Trying not to block you guys with my little mirror here. And then turn the brush and your head, not your hand. Don't lift your hand up, okay? I don't know if I'm like super close for you guys. Sorry, I'm just trying to let you guys see as much as you can, okay? So again, we're just gonna kind of go in there, make sure that we got that line nice and precise where we want it. And then we're gonna bring that color down. Now luckily, I have a little beauty mark here, so I kind of use that as my own personal guide on my face, because I know that if I go over that beauty mark, that's the crazy brow. That's when Kaylee gets crazy brows, when she goes over that beauty mark. So again, just kind of filling in that sparse area, bringing it down to the tail end of your brow. Boom. That part, pretty similar. Okay. Again, with the darker shade, and we're gonna go in towards this bottom here and just follow where our lashes are normally growing. One of my best brow tips to you can probably be to let your own natural brows grow out. Kind of shape them as you can, just let those babies grow. You can fill them in while they're growing. So if you have like really short brows, just let them grow. It took a while for my brows to grow back. I use actually the Esteem Lash Serum that I use on my eyes to grow my eyelashes. I use that on my brows. I actually had to stop because they were just getting to be too thick. I mean, us Whelms were kind of blessed with caterpillar style eyebrows. I don't know if you've ever seen my brothers, but yeah, we've got a whole insect looking thing going on our brows. So I've always kind of trimmed mine down a little bit thinner. I went in with that lighter shade of brown, and I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm just gonna kind of flick up that color, starting from the line that I drew as my guide. Okay, see, now I can already tell that this right here is a little bit thinner than that. So I'm gonna go back in with that darker shade, and I'm just gonna kind of thicken up this line here. Thicken it up to my liking. And the good thing is because I have that eye primer on my eyes, see, look at that. Boom! Because I have that eye primer on my eyes, the powder, when you use powder, is really going to stick to that primer. Okay, now I have the light brown shade again, and I'm just kind of flicking up with that pointed side to mimic those little hairs that are already there. Boop. Back in with the wax. And again, just kind of going with the flow of my natural brows, putting some of those little unruly hairs in their place. You know, you don't want a gust of wind to come in your eyebrows to be flying. Okay, wipe, and then we're gonna go back in with that pink shade. If you're hopping on, go ahead and say hello. I'm giving you guys all my best brow secrets. So again, just kind of cleaning up here. And you can see that when you do use this little kind of cleanup method, it really does make your brows pop, which is what you want. You want them, especially if you're taking the time and they're looking this good, you want those brows to pop. Okay. Kind of clean up. Don't know what's happening with my music here. There we go. And then again, in with that highlighting shade. Boom, there you go. Those are brows. Those are brows that you can see from far away. Now, if you feel like you went a little bit too thick on the product, which I don't think that I did, I will take the liner brow pencil, and I'll take the little spoolie here, and I'll brush up, and that kind of gives me, you know, I wouldn't do that with the brows I have now, but I'm just doing it to show you guys because I've already set them with wax, so it might make them a little bit flaky if you mess with them too much afterwards. But you would just kind of take your brush and kind of just brush them through. It would knock off a little bit of that product, kind of spread it around a little bit more. Boom. It's magic, you guys, okay? This. Deserted Island Beauty Products chapstick, rose water, and my brow palette. Truthfully. All right, so that was my brow tutorial. We got brows now. If you have any questions, send me a message. If you want to know more about the Brow Obsession palette, go ahead and send me a message as well. There's 3 different ones, light, medium, and dark. Yada, yada, yada. Again, the best brow brush ever. I mix up my words, guys. All right, have a good night. Oh, you're so welcome, Danielle. All right, have a good night. I'll see you guys later. Bye.